Okay, welcome to the improved Lego block tutorial where we're going to do some design changes in consideration that we would like to 3D print this. So what I'm talking about is understanding how a 3D printer works and what are its limitations, and hopefully dealing with a lot of those limitations during the design process. So we designed these Lego blocks in front of us, and I'm just going to turn off, I don't know, let's turn off these two by hitting the eyeballs, and I'm just going to look at this one. And what would be the best way to position this for 3D printing? Let's look at it like this. What if I positioned it in this orientation? Well, I didn't think that was best because as it prints up layer by layer, it's going to end up with, I don't know I guess I'll do it this way, and then I'll pick this corner. There we go. It's going to end up with trouble as it goes up because it's got nothing to build on when it gets to a certain height to build this portion here. It's not bad, but it would have to put supports in to build that, and then it would have to put supports in again to build this. And the supports are a bit of our enemy because as much as they work, let's have a look here. I've loaded in two Lego blocks here. Let's go back to edit so you can see the two Lego blocks. As much as they work, I'm going to slice this up. Oh, and the two Lego blocks have different bottoms. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm going to slice this and let it figure it out. Here we go. There we are. And I'm going to run back the layers, and you can see when I run back the layers in my slicer, this one is not building supports, the one in the foreground here. The one in the background is building supports, and that's great, except they're really hard to remove. They're really hard to get a clean surface. So if we can design in such a way like this one so that we don't have supports, then it's going to be a far better print in the end. It's going to save time, it's going to save plastic. I've finished that, and I'm going to show you what I did to make that possible. Not the best view here, but I'll show you in CAD. So it's better if we can consider the 3D printer as we're designing. So let's jump over here to one that I've already done. It looks the same like this, but what did I do? Well, one little modification I made was I radiused these edges. The sharp edges were hard to put together when you tried to mate them with the other blocks, so I've radiused those. Another thing that I did, if we look underneath, was I added these inner studs. Now, believe it or not, these came later. I actually looked this up because that's just the strange person that I am. And from the Lego site, it says that the inner tubes that came along, well, they came along at a later date here. The inner tubes were an addition by the son of the inventor of the Lego block, and they provide for a higher clutch power. They call it clutch power. That's how much effort it takes to pull the blocks apart. So we are going to add those now that we know that, because it's going to help with our design. Let me get rid of that. And that's these tubes, so I'm going to add those. But what else did I add in here? Well, can't really see in this one because I'll show you as I go. I turned them off here, that's why. Boom, boom, there we go. I decided that if I put a slope in here like this, and maybe I'll turn on an analysis, you can see, if I slope this surface, then I don't need supports, or you'll find it doesn't need supports, because as the 3D printer moves up, building in this direction, from this being the bottom and this being the top, it will build on the previous layer as long as it can. So this angle that I've provided here will allow for that. So I don't need supports to build it if I design it this way. Turn off the analysis, and you can see it just provides. Now, the only thing I had to worry about was there enough stud here to still stick into the other Lego block here? And there is, because these are only 1.3 millimeters high, and this is much more than that, so that'll be fine. And this space is much more than that, so it won't interfere at all. Okay, so how did I do this? Well, let's go back to the other Lego block here, and let's just modify this one that I've got in the previous tutorial. So the first thing I did was I think I filled these in, recognizing they came from the shelling process and it would be better if they were filled. So I'm going to activate this block to draw on it, and then I'm going to go and push E on my keyboard. It says things have moved, capture position, yes. I'm going to look at it straight on by clicking my block here, my view cube, and now I'm going to pick this surface, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and then we are going to extrude them up. Like if I rotate, I can see my extrude here, and we are joining. That's good. and I'm going to extrude them to object. So I don't have to know how far up. I'm just going to extrude them to this surface. There. Now they've extruded up to that and it looks absolutely filled in. Perfect. Now it's time for tubes. So I'm going to draw on this surface some tubes. So create a sketch, pick the surface. I am now sketching on this surface. Now I would like to use these studs here as reference while I draw these tubes. So how do I do that? I don't see them. They're not part of my sketch plane or my sketch paper here. So I'm going to do something called create and project down here, project or include. And this projection is what I want right here. I click it and then I go and choose things that I would like to project. And I'm going to choose the top of all of these little studs. Boom, 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 and push OK. When you push project, this little menu came up here and push OK. When you do that and you head back to your bottom where you were sketching from, you can see there they are. They're part of your sketch, or at least your sketch can use them, and that's what we're going to do. So then I had to come up with a way to draw a circle that touched each one of these studs because that was my tube that I'm going to make. So this is what I decided to do. I created a line, and I went from the center of this one to the center of that one. And push enter. I'm done making, or push escape, I guess. I'm done making lines. And now I'm going to make another line. And I'm going to go from the center of this to the center of this. I'm going to push escape to stop making lines. I'm going to turn both of these, holding shift while I click two things. I've selected them both. I'm going to turn them into construction lines. I'm just going to use X on my keyboard because that's a shortcut, or a hotkey as they call it. Now, I need to draw a circle. And the circle is going to have a center and a diameter. The center is going to be the center of this line. There's my triangle. It tells me I'm on center. And then I slide out and look, it says I found the intersection of the circle there. So boom. And I'll do it over here. There we go. And now the tubes traditionally are hollow because it saves material, but hollow is unnecessary for us because it creates another issue perhaps with 3D printing. Actually, we could fix it. That's tempting. No, I'm just going to leave it for now. I'm just going to make mine solid. They're so small. We're just going to make them solid. So we're going to pick that one and pick this one by holding shift to pick multiple things. E for extrude. And we're going to extrude them up. Ooh, grab this little handle. How far should they go? Make sure we're joining instead of other options. We're joining. I'm going to bring them up again to object. I'm going to pick this surface as my height. There. Push OK. Now the other thing we found out was this here becomes a problem. So consideration of 3D printing, why don't we, instead of have it low and have to provide supports for it, why don't we bring it right up flush to there? So how should I do that? Well, the easiest way is to go back and click on it, and it will show you in your history how you built that right there. There's my extrude. It's highlighted it for me with these hash marks. If I double click it, there we go. Oh, hang on, I gotta find it. I had to push my doghouse to find it again. It went off screen. So I'm going to then bring it up, but not to distance, to object. I'm going to bring it up flush. Now that doesn't need supports. Well, there we go. Off screen again for some reason. There. Okay. So now what? How do I put in these 45-degree things I was talking about? Or maybe I should do the radiuses. So I'm going to put radiuses on these to make them smoother. So I'm going to head up here to this tool called Fillet. I'm going to pick all of these edges like this. Run around, pick the edges, and then we're going to radius them. Now I'm going to use the arrow to start figuring out how much radius I need. I'm just going to pull it and decide how much. Maybe that much, 0.5 millimeters. Push OK. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix these, because these also seem to, if they're sharp, the first layer of the 3D print causes this to actually get smushed, and there's a little ridge here. So I'm going to go and radius those, but in this case I'm going to chamfer them, which is put a straight edge on the edge. So I'm going to go and give that a little push. Now you decide how much chamfer you need, but I'm just going to go a little less than that. There we go. Push OK. Now, the last thing is I have to deal with the fact that these surfaces would need support, and I don't want them to. So I'm going to go back up to that chamfer tool. Where is it? There it is. I'm going to pick this, that. Oh, did I get it? No, I only have 2 selected, so I didn't. So I'll click it, and we'll click it. So I got 4. Now I'm going to go pick this one, this one and that one, and now I should be able to bring this like this, and you can see I'm starting to create that 45-degree shape that I want. And I found that about 4.5 millimeters is what we look for. Now, yes, there's a little bit of non-chamfered in here. The 3D printer should easily bridge across that. It's so small. The reason for that is I'm not actually drawing from the center line here. I'm actually drawing from anyway, there's a reason. So we are good. We'll push OK. And now we've got this block. And if you wondered how I looked at it sort of in a section view, I'll show you how to do that. You pick Inspect. It's just a way of looking at things. So it's an inspection. And now we're going to use section analysis, which sounds fancy. Click it, pick a surface, and then you see the arrow. You can just draw back. And I went back half the block, which was 8. If we know -8, I guess it is up there. Boom, like that. And then you can see half the block. So that's what we're looking at, just like I had it. If you ever want to look at it normal again, just push your analysis over here and switch it off, eyeball. There we go. So it's just a way of looking at it. It didn't change the part at all. That part should print perfectly without need for supports if I print it in this orientation. There we go. That orientation right there. Okay, so that's design modifications for 3D printing. When you're designing things, you always want to think how they're going to be built, and can I make it easier for the builder? In this case, it's our 3D printer, and we've made it not only easier, but it's also going to produce a better part for us. You could slice that in your 3D printer and test it out and see how it works. Do the blocks fit together? That's it.